He sent her a wedding invitation. Not to celebrate, to humiliate. She had been the woman who couldn't give him children, the one he left behind without mercy. But when she walked into that chapel, the entire room went silent. Because she wasn't alone. 3 identical boys, 5 years old, dark eyes, his face. The empire he built on lies was about to collapse, and the secret she carried for 5 years was about to destroy him. Subscribe now, because this story will change everything you thought you knew about revenge. The chapel was draped in white silk and golden roses. Everything perfect. Everything calculated. Jin-woo stood at the altar in a black tailored suit, his expression cold and unreadable. At 32, he was the underground king of Los Angeles, feared, respected, untouchable. His empire stretched across the city like a shadow no one dared to name. And today he was getting married, not for love, for alliance. The woman beside him, dressed in ivory lace, was the daughter of a powerful East Coast family. Beautiful, polite, strategic. She smiled at the guests. Jin-woo didn't. His dark eyes scanned the crowd. Business partners, allies, enforcers dressed in expensive suits. Everyone who mattered was there. Everyone except her, or so he thought. The heavy oak doors at the back of the chapel creaked open. Silence. All eyes turned. And there she was. Naomi, 30 years old. Slender frame wrapped in a simple black dress. Natural curls framing her face. Skin glowing under the soft light. She walked slowly, her heels echoing against the marble floor. But she wasn't alone. 3 boys walked beside her. Identical. 5 years old. Dark hair, almond-shaped eyes, strong jawlines that didn't belong on children. They looked exactly like Jin-woo. The room froze. Whispers erupted like wildfire. Jin-woo's jaw tightened. His fists clenched at his sides. The bride turned to him, confusion painted across her face. Jin-woo. Who is that? He didn't answer, because he couldn't breathe. Naomi stopped halfway down the aisle. She didn't look at him. She didn't need to. The boys stood perfectly still, their small hands folded in front of them. Calm. Composed. Trained. One of them tilted his head slightly, studying the man at the altar. Jin-woo felt his heart stop. He knew those eyes. He knew that face, because it was his. Naomi finally lifted her gaze, and when their eyes met, the world collapsed. No words, no explanations. Just the silent roar of a truth he had buried 5 years ago. She smiled, soft, sad, lethal. Then she turned and walked out. The boys followed. And Jin-woo stood there, frozen, as his perfect wedding shattered into dust. Jin-woo didn't remember ending the ceremony. He didn't remember the shouting, the guests, the bride in tears. All he remembered was walking out of that chapel and into the blinding Los Angeles sunlight. His men followed in silence. No one dared speak, because everyone had seen what he saw. 3 boys. His face. His blood. Impossible. Naomi had told him she couldn't have children. Years ago, when they were together, she had cried in his arms after every failed attempt, every doctor's visit, every heartbreak. He had loved her then. But love wasn't enough for a man like him. He needed an heir. A legacy. And when she couldn't give him one, he walked away. No explanation. No goodbye. Just a cold, final silence. That was 5 years ago. And now she had 3 sons. His sons. Jin-woo sat alone in his penthouse that night, the city lights sprawling beneath him like a kingdom he no longer controlled. His phone buzzed. A message from one of his men. Found her. Downtown loft. She's been living there for 3 years. He stared at the address. His hands trembled. For the first time in years, Jin-woo felt something he had forgotten. Fear. Not of her. Not of the truth. But of what he had become. The next morning he went to her. No bodyguards. No armor. Just him. The loft was small but warm. Sunlight poured through tall windows. Children's drawings covered the walls. Toys scattered across the floor. It felt alive. Naomi opened the door before he knocked. She looked at him with the same calm strength she always had. "I knew you'd come," she said quietly. Jinwoo stepped inside. The boys sat on the floor, building something with colorful blocks. They glanced up at him briefly, then returned to their work. No fear, no curiosity, just presence. Naomi crossed her arms. "Say what you came to say." Jinwoo's voice was rough. "Are they mine?" She didn't flinch. "Does it matter?" "Yes." "Why? So you can claim them? Add them to your empire like property." Her words cut deeper than any blade. Jinwoo looked at the boys again. One of them laughed. A soft, genuine sound. Something inside him cracked. "I didn't know," he whispered. Naomi's eyes softened, just for a moment. "I found out 2 weeks after you left. I was going to tell you. Then why didn't you?" She smiled bitterly. "Because you made it very clear you didn't want me anymore. And I wasn't going to force my children into a world that would destroy them." Silence. Jinwoo swallowed hard. "I want to know them." Naomi shook her head. "You don't get to decide that. They're my sons. They're my sons. You were just the man who walked away." Her voice didn't rise, didn't break. But it shattered him anyway. One of the boys stood up and walked over to Jinwoo. He stared up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Are you our dad?" he asked simply. Jinwoo froze. Naomi tensed. The boy tilted his head. "Mom says our dad is busy. Are you busy?" Jinwoo knelt down slowly, meeting the child's gaze. His throat tightened. "Yeah," he whispered. "I've been very busy." The boy nodded. "That's okay. We're busy too." Then he smiled and returned to his brothers. Jinwoo stood there, unable to move, unable to breathe. Because for the first time in 5 years he realized what he had lost. And it wasn't power, it wasn't control, it was everything. Jinwoo didn't leave. He couldn't. Every instinct told him to walk away, to return to his empire, to the wedding he had abandoned, to the life he had built on control and distance. But he stayed. Naomi didn't ask him to. She didn't invite him in further. She simply let him exist in the space. The boys, Ethan, Elijah, and Evan, moved around the loft like small forces of nature, curious, fearless, unaware of the weight their existence carried. Jinwoo watched them, not as a crime lord, not as the man who ruled Los Angeles from the shadows, but as someone who had no idea what to do. Ethan, the one who had asked if Jinwoo was their dad, kept glancing at him, not with suspicion, just interest. Elijah ignored him completely, focused on building an elaborate tower out of blocks. Evan, the quietest of the three, sat near Naomi, drawing with crayons. Jinwoo noticed the way they moved around her, the way they checked in with her, the way they trusted her completely. She had raised them alone. No help, no support, just her strength. And theirs. "They don't know who you are," Naomi said softly, breaking the silence. "Not really." Jinwoo looked at her. "What did you tell them?" "The truth. That their father wasn't ready to be in their lives." "That's not—" "It's exactly the truth," she interrupted, her voice steady. "You chose your empire over everything. Over me. Over the possibility of them." Jinwoo clenched his jaw. "I didn't know they existed." "Would it have mattered?" Naomi asked. "If I had told you I was pregnant, would you have stayed? Or would you have seen them as a burden?" He wanted to lie. He wanted to tell her he would have been different. But they both knew the truth. 5 years ago, he wouldn't have chosen them. "I'm not that man anymore," he said quietly. Naomi studied him. "Maybe. But you're still the man who sent me a wedding invitation to humiliate me." Jinwoo flinched. She was right. He had done it to hurt her. To prove to himself that he had moved on. That she meant nothing. But standing here now, watching his sons exist without him, he realized the only person he had destroyed was himself. Evan walked over to Jinwoo, holding up a crayon drawing. "Do you like it?" he asked softly. Jinwoo looked down. It was a picture of a house, a woman, 3 boys, and a blank space next to them. "Who's missing?" Jinwoo asked, his voice rough. Evan shrugged. "I don't know yet." The boy smiled and returned to his drawing. Jinwoo felt something break inside him. Naomi stood. "You should go. I'm not leaving. You don't belong here." "They're my sons." "Then prove it," Naomi said, her eyes fierce. "Not with money, not with power. Prove it by being the kind of man they deserve." Jinwoo stood slowly. "I will." Naomi didn't respond. She simply watched as he walked to the door. Before he left, he turned back. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he said quietly. "I'm asking for a chance." Naomi's expression didn't change. Chances aren't given. They're earned. Jinwoo nodded, and for the first time in years, he walked away from something without controlling it, without owning it. He walked away knowing he had everything to lose, and for once, that terrified him more than any enemy ever had. Did this story touch your heart? Then unlock more like this. Use Super Thanks to directly support the next emotional story. Join our members club for early access, exclusive videos, and behind-the-scenes content. This isn't just support, it's access. See you in the next story. Jinwoo didn't return to his empire. He canceled the wedding, dissolved the alliance, walked away from the woman who was supposed to secure his future. His associates questioned him. His enemies sensed weakness. But he didn't care. For the first time in his life, something mattered more than power. He showed up at Naomi's loft the next morning, and the morning after that, and the one after that. He didn't ask to come in. He simply stood outside, waiting. On the 4th day, Ethan opened the door. "Mom says you can come in, but only if you help with breakfast." Jinwoo blinked. "Breakfast?" Ethan nodded seriously. "We make pancakes on Saturdays." And just like that, the most feared man in Los Angeles found himself standing in a small kitchen, flipping pancakes while 3 5-year-olds gave him instructions. "Not too much batter," Elijah warned. "Flip it now," Evan urged. "You're doing it wrong," Ethan observed. Naomi watched from the doorway, arms crossed, a small smile playing at her lips. Jinwoo burned the first 3 pancakes. The boys thought it was hilarious. And for the first time in years, Jinwoo laughed. Not the cold, calculated smile he wore in boardrooms. A real laugh. Weeks passed. Jinwoo learned their routines, their favorite foods, their bedtime stories. Ethan loved superheroes. Elijah loved building things. Evan loved drawing. Jinwoo bought them nothing, because Naomi had made it clear. They don't need your money. They need your presence. So he gave them time. He showed up. He listened. He learned what it meant to be still. But his world wouldn't let him go so easily. One night, 2 of his former associates appeared at the loft. Armed, angry. "You've gone soft," one of them growled. "You abandoned your responsibilities. Your empire is falling apart." Jinwoo stood in the doorway, blocking them from entering. "Leave," he said quietly. "Or what? You'll fight us? You're not that man anymore." Jinwoo's eyes darkened. "You're right. I'm not. But if you threaten my family, you'll discover exactly what I'm still capable of." The men hesitated. Behind Jinwoo, Naomi appeared, holding her phone. "I've already called the police. You have 2 minutes." The men left, but the message was clear. Jinwoo's past wouldn't disappear just because he wanted it to. That night, after the boys were asleep, Naomi sat across from him. "You can't live in both worlds," she said softly. "I know. So what are you going to do?" Jinwoo looked at her, really looked at her. "I'm going to choose you, all of you. And your empire? It was never mine," he whispered. "It was just a cage I built around myself." Naomi's eyes glistened. "It won't be easy." "I don't care." She reached across the table and took his hand. For the first time in 5 years, they touched, and the world felt possible again. Jinwoo dismantled his empire piece by piece. He transferred control, dissolved partnerships, walked away from the underworld that had defined him for a decade. It wasn't clean, it wasn't easy, and it came with a price. The first threat arrived 2 weeks after he started the process. A black envelope slipped under his apartment door. Inside, a single photograph of Naomi's loft. No words, no signature, just a message. "We're watching." Jinwoo burned it immediately. He hired private security, discreet, professional, invisible. They watched the loft from a distance. They monitored the boys' school. They tracked every shadow that moved too close. Naomi noticed. "You're protecting us," she said one evening, her voice calm but firm. Jinwoo didn't deny it. "I have to. From your past." "Yes." She crossed her arms. "How long until it's safe?" "I don't know." "That's not good enough, Jinwoo." He met her eyes. "I know, but I'm handling it." "Alone?" "I won't let this touch you or the boys." Naomi stepped closer. "We're already in it. The moment you walked back into our lives, we became part of this. So stop protecting us like we're fragile. We deserve to know what we're facing." Jinwoo's jaw tightened. She was right. He had spent so long operating in shadows, controlling information, keeping people at a distance. But this was different. This was family. "There are people who don't want me to leave," he admitted quietly. "They see it as betrayal, weakness. And what do they want? For me to come back, or to make an example out of me." Naomi didn't flinch. "Then we deal with it. Together." Jinwoo shook his head. "You don't understand what these people are capable of." "And you don't understand what I'm capable of," Naomi interrupted. "I raised 3 boys alone in a city that tried to break me. I survived you leaving. I survived poverty, exhaustion, fear. I'm still here, so don't treat me like I'm helpless." Her strength hit him like a wave. Jinwoo exhaled slowly. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be honest." He nodded. "I will." That night, he told her everything. The names, the connections, the threats, and together, they made a plan. The solution came from an unexpected place. One of Jinwoo's former allies, a man named Samuel, who had always operated on the edges of legitimacy, reached out. They met in a quiet diner on the outskirts of the city. Samuel was older, graying at the temples, his eyes tired but sharp. "You've caused quite a stir," Samuel said, stirring his coffee. "I'm out," Jinwoo replied. "Completely." "I know. And that terrifies them." "Why?" Samuel smiled faintly. "Because you're proving something they don't want to believe. That it's possible to leave. That there's life after this." Jinwoo leaned back. "What do you want, Samuel?" "To help you." "Why?" "Because I have a daughter," Samuel said quietly. "She's 7. And every day I wonder what kind of man she'll think I am when she's old enough to understand." He slid a folder across the table. Inside, documents, recordings, evidence. "Everything you need to secure your exit," Samuel explained. "Leverage, insurance, proof that if anything happens to you or your family, certain information goes public." Jinwoo scanned the documents. This could destroy half the network. "Exactly. Mutually assured destruction. They leave you alone. You leave them alone. And you're giving this to me?" Samuel stood, leaving money on the table. "I'm giving it to you because I want to believe there's still a way out for people like us. And maybe, one day, I'll follow your lead." He walked away. Jinwoo sat there, holding the key to his freedom. 3 months later, the threats stopped. The surveillance disappeared. Jinwoo's exit was complete. He legally changed his career, working as a consultant for legitimate businesses. He used his strategic mind, his understanding of complex systems, his ability to see 10 steps ahead, all for legal, productive purposes. The money was less. The danger was gone. And for the first time in his adult life, he could breathe. Naomi watched him change. The hardness in his eyes softened. The tension in his shoulders eased. He smiled more, laughed more, lived more. And slowly, the wall between them began to crumble. He showed up every day, for breakfast, for school pickups, for bedtime stories. He learned Ethan's superhero names. He helped Elijah build elaborate structures. He framed every drawing Evan made. And Naomi watched it all. One evening, after the boys were asleep, she found him on the fire escape. He was staring at the city lights, but his expression was peaceful. She sat beside him. "You look different," she observed. "I feel different." "Good different?" He turned to her. "Yeah, good different." Naomi smiled. "The boys love you. I love them." Silence settled between them. "I know I don't deserve another chance with you," Jinwoo said quietly. "I know what I did. You destroyed me." Naomi interrupted softly. "When you left, I wasn't just heartbroken. I was shattered. I questioned everything about myself, my worth, my body, my future." Jinwoo's chest tightened. "And then I found out I was pregnant," she continued. "And I was terrified. But those 3 boys saved me. They gave me purpose. They taught me that I was stronger than I ever imagined." "I'm sorry," Jinwoo whispered. "For all of it." Naomi looked at him. "I know you are. I don't expect forgiveness." "I already forgave you," she said simply. Jinwoo froze. "I forgave you the moment I decided to walk into that wedding," Naomi explained, "because I realized something. Holding on to that pain was only poisoning me, and our sons deserved a mother who was whole, not broken." Tears burned Jinwoo's eyes. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting," Naomi added. "It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean going back to what we were." "Then what does it mean?" She took his hand. "It means we start over. Clean slate. No expectations. Just possibility." Jinwoo's voice cracked. "I'll spend the rest of my life earning that possibility." "I know," Naomi whispered. "I can see it. Every day. In the way you show up. In the way you love them." "I love you too," Jinwoo said. "I never stopped." Naomi's eyes glistened. "I know. But love isn't enough. We need trust, time, patience. I'll give you all of it." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Then let's see where this goes." They sat together as the city hummed below them. Not as strangers, not as enemies, but as 2 people who had survived the worst and were choosing to build something new. One moment at a time. 6 months later, the house by the coast was nothing like Jinwoo's former penthouse. It wasn't towering glass and steel. It wasn't cold marble and calculated design. It wasn't a fortress built to keep the world out. It was the opposite of everything he had once believed he needed. The house was small. 3 bedrooms, a modest kitchen, a living room with worn wooden floors that creaked in the mornings. The walls were painted soft cream, decorated with the boys' artwork and family photographs. Large windows faced the ocean, letting in natural light that made every room feel alive. There was a garden out back, tomatoes growing in crooked rows, herbs planted by small eager hands, wildflowers that Naomi had scattered, just to see what happens. The porch wrapped around the front, weathered wood and chipped paint, with 2 rocking chairs Jinwoo had found at a thrift store and restored himself. This was home. And every morning, Jinwoo woke up still surprised that it was real. He opened his eyes to sunlight streaming through thin curtains, the sound of waves rolling against the shore, the distant cry of seagulls. Beside him, Naomi slept peacefully, her curls spread across the pillow, one hand tucked under her cheek. They had been living together for 3 months now. Not rushed, not forced. It had happened naturally. One day, after months of him staying over more nights than not, Ethan had simply asked, "Why doesn't Dad just live here?" And Naomi had looked at Jinwoo with a soft smile and said, "Yeah, why don't you?" So he did. He moved his few belongings into her space, their space. And it felt like coming home. Jinwoo watched Naomi sleep for a moment, still amazed that this was his life now. He slipped out of bed quietly, pulling on a t-shirt and soft cotton pants. He padded downstairs in bare feet, the morning cool and fresh. The kitchen smelled like coffee. Naomi had set the timer the night before, a small routine they'd established together. Jinwoo poured himself a cup and stepped onto the porch. The ocean stretched endlessly before him, painted in shades of gray and pearl as dawn broke over the horizon. The air tasted like salt and possibility. He sat in one of the rocking chairs and let the peace wash over him. 5 years ago, mornings had meant threat assessments, encrypted messages, and the weight of an empire that never slept. Now, mornings meant coffee and waves and waiting for his sons to wake up. He had never been happier. The sound of small feet on stairs made him turn. Evan appeared in the doorway, clutching a stuffed dinosaur, his hair sticking up in every direction. "Morning, buddy," Jinwoo said softly. Evan climbed into his lap without a word, still half asleep. Jinwoo wrapped his arms around him, feeling the small, solid weight of his son against his chest. These moments, quiet, simple, unremarkable, were everything. "Did you have good dreams?" Jinwoo asked. Evan nodded against his shoulder. "I dreamed we were flying." "Yeah? Where were we going?" "Everywhere." Jinwoo smiled. "That sounds nice." They sat together, watching the sunrise paint the sky in gold and pink. 20 minutes later, Naomi appeared with 2 more cups of coffee. She handed one to Jinwoo and sat in the other rocking chair, her eyes still soft with sleep. "Morning," she murmured. "Morning." Evan had fallen back asleep in Jinwoo's arms. Naomi smiled at the sight. "He does that with you now." "Does what?" "Falls asleep on you. Trusts you completely." Jinwoo looked down at his son's peaceful face. "I don't take that lightly." "I know," Naomi said. "That's why he does it." They sat in comfortable silence as the world woke up around them. This was the empire Jinwoo had built. Not with fear or force, but with presence, with patience, with love. Later that morning, breakfast was controlled chaos. Ethan wanted waffles. Elijah wanted eggs. Evan woke up fully and demanded pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. Jinwoo stood at the stove, spatula in hand, attempting to create something that vaguely resembled a stegosaurus. "It looks more like a blob," Elijah observed critically. "It's abstract," Jinwoo defended. Naomi laughed from the table. "It's perfect." Ethan climbed onto a chair, peering over Jinwoo's shoulder. "Can you make mine look like Captain America's shield?" "I can try." "You said that last time and it looked like a frisbee." "Hey, a frisbee is basically a shield." The boys erupted in giggles. Naomi watched Jinwoo, the man who had once commanded rooms full of dangerous men with a single look, now negotiating pancake shapes with 3 6-year-olds, and he looked completely content. They ate together at the small kitchen table, plates crowded, elbows bumping, conversation flowing. "We have a field trip next week," Elijah announced. "Where to?" Naomi asked. "The Science Museum. We're learning about physics." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Boring." "It's not boring," Elijah protested. "Dad, tell him physics isn't boring." Jinwoo considered this. "Physics is how we understand the world. It's in everything. How waves move, how buildings stand, how superheroes fly." Ethan interrupted, suddenly interested. "Exactly." Ethan reconsidered. "Okay, maybe it's not boring." Evan, meanwhile, was drawing on his napkin with a purple crayon. "What are you making?" Jinwoo asked. Evan held it up. "Our family. See? That's Mom. That's you. That's us." He had drawn 5 stick figures holding hands, all of them smiling. Jinwoo's throat tightened. 6 months ago, there had been an empty space in Evan's drawings. Now, Jinwoo was centered right in the middle. "It's perfect," he said softly. Evan beamed. "I'm gonna put it on the fridge." After breakfast, the boys scattered, Ethan to read comic books, Elijah to build something elaborate with blocks, Evan to draw. Jinwoo helped Naomi clean up. They worked side by side in comfortable rhythm. He washed, she dried. "You're good at this," Naomi said. "Washing dishes?" "Being here, being present, being you." Jinwoo set down a plate. "I'm still learning." "We all are," she replied. "But you're doing it right. You show up, you try, you care." "Of course I care." She turned to him. 5 years ago you didn't, or you couldn't, or you thought you couldn't. Jinwoo nodded slowly. "I was a different person." "You were scared," Naomi said gently. "Of being vulnerable, of needing someone, of being needed." "Yeah. And now?" He looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman who had survived his abandonment, who had raised their sons alone, who had given him a second chance he didn't deserve. "Now I'm still scared," he admitted. "But not of the same things." "What are you scared of now?" "Losing this, losing you, losing them." Naomi stepped closer. "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you're not running anymore. And neither am I." She kissed him softly. And Jinwoo felt the last piece of his old life fall away. 3 months later, Jinwoo's consulting business had grown steadily. He worked from home mostly, using the small office they'd set up in the converted garage. He helped legitimate companies navigate complex negotiations, restructure operations, anticipate market shifts. Everything he had learned in the underworld, reading people, understanding power dynamics, strategic thinking, now served a different purpose. He was good at it. And more importantly, he was proud of it. No more shadows. No more compromises. Just honest work. Naomi's design business flourished too. She created branding for small businesses, websites for local artists, visual identities for nonprofits. Her work was beautiful, thoughtful, full of the creativity she'd had to suppress for years while just surviving. Now, she was thriving. They had built something together. A life, a partnership, equal, balanced, real. One Saturday afternoon, Jinwoo took the boys to the beach while Naomi worked on a deadline. Ethan and Elijah raced ahead, chasing waves and daring each other to go deeper. Evan walked beside Jinwoo, collecting shells. "Dad?" Evan said quietly. "Yeah, buddy? Do you remember when you didn't live with us?" Jinwoo's chest tightened. "I do." "Why didn't you?" It was a simple question, an innocent question, but it carried the weight of 5 years. Jinwoo knelt down in the sand, meeting Evan's eyes. "Because I made a mistake," he said honestly. "A really big one. I thought I knew what I needed, but I was wrong. And by the time I realized it, I thought it was too late." Evan tilted his head. "But it wasn't too late. No, your mom gave me another chance." "Because she loves you?" "Because she's braver than I ever was." Evan nodded thoughtfully. Then he held up a shell, pale pink, perfectly smooth. "This one's pretty." "It is. I'm gonna give it to Mom." Jinwoo smiled. "She'll love that." Evan ran toward the water to find his brothers. Jinwoo stayed kneeling in the sand, watching his 3 sons play. They were happy, secure, loved, everything he had never been as a child. He had broken the cycle, and that meant everything. That evening after the boys were asleep, Jinwoo found Naomi on the porch. She was wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. He sat beside her, and she leaned into him naturally. "Evan asked me why I didn't live with you before," Jinwoo said. Naomi tensed slightly. "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That I made a mistake. That you gave me another chance." She relaxed. "Good. I never want to lie to them." "I know." They sat in silence for a while. Then Naomi spoke. "I've been thinking about something." "What?" She turned to face him. "I want to make this official." Jinwoo's heart skipped. "Official how?" "I want to marry you." The world stopped. Jinwoo stared at her, unable to speak. Naomi smiled softly. "You don't have to answer now." "Yes," he interrupted. "Yes?" "Yes, 1,000 times yes." She laughed, tears in her eyes. You're sure? Jinwoo cupped her face. Naomi, you and those boys are the only thing I've ever been sure about. Everything else in my life was built on lies and fear. But this is real. This is everything. She kissed him, and under the stars, with the ocean singing around them, they promised each other forever. Again. But this time, it would last. The wedding. 2 months later. They didn't want anything big. No spectacle, no performance. Just them. The boys. A handful of close friends. The ceremony was on the beach at sunset. Naomi wore a simple white dress, flowing fabric, delicate straps, nothing ornate. Her natural curls were loose, adorned with small white flowers. She was barefoot in the sand. She looked radiant. Jinwoo wore a linen suit in soft gray, no tie, the top button undone. Also barefoot. He couldn't stop smiling. Ethan, Elijah, and Evan stood beside them as groomsmen and ring-bearers, dressed in matching linen shirts and khaki pants. They took their roles very seriously. Samuel was there, the man who had helped Jinwoo leave his old life. He had brought his daughter, Elena, who was now 8. She played with the boys before the ceremony, building sand castles. A few of Naomi's friends, women who had supported her through the hardest years, who had babysat when she needed to work, who had never judged her. A photographer, a local artist Naomi knew, captured everything with quiet professionalism. The officiant was a kind woman in her 60s who had married hundreds of couples on this beach. She smiled at Jinwoo and Naomi as they stood facing each other, hands clasped, waves rolling behind them. Love, she began, is not about perfection. It's not about finding someone who completes you. It's about choosing someone, every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Jinwoo's eyes never left Naomi's. Jinwoo and Naomi have already lived a lifetime together. They've faced loss, pain, separation. They've walked through fire. And they've chosen to walk through it again. Together. With eyes wide open. The officiant turned to Jinwoo. Do you have vows? Jinwoo nodded. He had written them down. But when he reached into his pocket, he realized he didn't need the paper. The words were already in his heart. Naomi, he began, his voice steady despite the emotion threatening to break through. 5 years ago, I walked away from you because I was afraid. Afraid of being vulnerable. Afraid of needing someone. Afraid of failing. She squeezed his hands. And in that fear, I lost everything that mattered. I lost you. I lost the chance to know our sons from the beginning. I lost myself. His voice cracked slightly. But you gave me something I didn't deserve. A second chance. And I promise you, for the rest of my life, I will never waste it. I will show up. I will be present. I will love you and our boys with everything I have. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only thing that matters. Tears streamed down Naomi's face. You taught me what strength really looks like, Jinwoo continued. It's not control. It's not power. It's showing up, every day, even when you're exhausted. It's choosing love even after being hurt. It's building a life from nothing and making it beautiful. He wiped her tears gently. I love you. I choose you. Today and every day after. The beach was silent, except for the waves. Even the boys were still, understanding somehow that this moment was sacred. The officiant turned to Naomi. And you? Naomi took a shaky breath. Jinwoo, she said, her voice soft but strong. When you left, I thought my life was over. I thought I would never trust anyone again. Never love again. Never let anyone close enough to hurt me. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. But then I had our sons. And they taught me that love isn't about protection. It's about courage. And when you came back, I had a choice. I could hold on to the pain, or I could take a risk. She smiled through her tears. I chose the risk. And it was the best decision I ever made. Jinwoo's eyes glistened. You've become the man I always knew you could be. The father our sons deserve. The partner I needed. And I'm so proud of you. Of us. of what we've built together. Her voice grew stronger. I promise to love you through the good days and the hard ones. To be your partner, your equal, your home. To build this life with you. One moment at a time. To never let fear win again. She squeezed his hands. I love you. I choose you. Forever. The officiant smiled. The rings? Ethan stepped forward carefully, holding a small velvet box. Jinwoo took Naomi's ring. Simple gold, delicate, exactly her style. He slid it onto her finger. Naomi took his ring, matching gold, slightly wider. She slid it onto his finger. Both of them were crying now. By the power vested in me, the officiant said warmly, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss. Jinwoo pulled Naomi close and kissed her as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold and endless possibility. The boys cheered. Samuel clapped. Naomi's friends wiped their eyes, and Jinwoo felt complete. For the first time in his life, he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The reception. They had dinner on the beach, a long table set up in the sand, strung with lights, filled with simple, delicious food. Fresh fish, grilled vegetables, warm bread, wine and lemonade. The boys ate with their fingers and ran around in the sand between courses. Elena joined them, and soon all 4 children were building an elaborate sand kingdom. Samuel sat beside Jinwoo. You did it, Samuel said quietly. Did what? Got out, really out, built something real. Jinwoo looked at Naomi, laughing with her friends. Yeah, I did. I'm proud of you. Thanks, that means a lot. Samuel paused. I'm leaving too. Officially. Next month. Jinwoo turned to him. Really? Elena deserves better than wondering what her father really does. And I deserve to know what it feels like to sleep without looking over my shoulder. It's terrifying at first, Jinwoo admitted, letting go of that control. But it's worth it. I believe you. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children play. 2 men who had walked in darkness and chosen light. As the evening wore on, Naomi stood and raised her glass. I want to say something, she announced. Everyone turned to her. 5 years ago, I thought my life was over. I was heartbroken, pregnant, alone, and terrified. I didn't know how I was going to survive, let alone raise 3 children by myself. She looked at her friends. But you helped me. You showed up. You babysat and brought food and listened to me cry. You reminded me that I was stronger than I thought. Her friends smiled, eyes glistening. Naomi turned to Jinwoo. And you. You came back. Not perfectly, not easily, but you came back. And you stayed. And you proved that people can change. That redemption is real. That it's never too late to become who you're meant to be. Jinwoo stood and joined her. She continued, her voice thick with emotion. This family exists because we chose each other. Not once, but over and over again. Every day, every moment. Through fear and doubt and uncertainty, we chose love. She raised her glass higher. So here's to second chances, to messy, beautiful, imperfect love, to building empires out of presence instead of power, to showing up, to staying, to choosing each other. Everyone raised their glasses. To love, they echoed. Jinwoo kissed his wife as the stars came out above them, and the ocean sang its approval. 1 year later, life settled into a beautiful rhythm. The boys were 7 now, growing taller, asking harder questions, developing their own personalities even more distinctly. Ethan was their leader. Confident, brave, always ready for adventure. Elijah was their builder. Thoughtful, precise, fascinated by how things worked. Evan was their artist. Sensitive, creative, seeing beauty everywhere. Jinwoo loved them each uniquely, completely. He coached Ethan's soccer team. He helped Elijah with science projects. He framed every single one of Evan's drawings. Naomi's business had grown so much she'd hired an assistant. Jinwoo's consulting firm was thriving. They were stable, secure, happy. One evening in late spring, Jinwoo came home from a client meeting to find Naomi sitting on the porch, staring at the ocean. Something was different. He could see it in the way she held herself. "Hey," he said, sitting beside her. "You okay?" She turned to him, her eyes bright with tears. Happy tears. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. Time stopped. Jinwoo's entire world compressed into that single moment. "You're... what?" Naomi laughed through her tears. "I'm pregnant. 12 weeks. I found out this morning." Jinwoo couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Couldn't do anything except pull her into his arms. "We're having a baby," he whispered against her hair. "We're having a baby," she confirmed. He pulled back, cupping her face. "Are you happy?" "Terrified," she admitted. "But yes, so happy." "Me too." They held each other as the sun set. This baby would be different from the boys. This baby would be planned, wanted, celebrated from the very first moment. This baby would be born into a home filled with love and stability and presence. This baby would never wonder if they were wanted. That night, they told the boys. Ethan whooped and immediately started planning how to be the best big brother ever. Elijah asked 17 questions about biology and development. Evan simply smiled and started drawing. The next day, he showed them his latest picture. Their family of 5. And a tiny baby in the center. All of them holding hands. All of them smiling. "This is us," Evan said simply. Complete. Jinwoo hung it on the refrigerator, right next to the very first drawing Evan had made a year ago. The before and after. The empty space and the fullness. The journey from broken to whole. 7 months later, Naomi went into labor on a Tuesday morning. Jinwoo drove her to the hospital while Naomi's friend stayed with the boys. The labor was long, difficult. Jinwoo stayed by her side through every contraction, every breath, every moment. He held her hand and whispered encouragement. He was her anchor, just as she had been his. And when their daughter was born, tiny, perfect, with a full head of dark hair and powerful lungs, Jinwoo wept. Not quietly, not subtly. He sobbed. Because he was there. He hadn't missed it. He was present for the moment his child came into the world. The doctor placed the baby on Naomi's chest. She looked up at Jinwoo with exhausted, radiant joy. "We did it," she whispered. "You did it," he corrected. "You're incredible." Their daughter, Maya, they named her, wrapped her tiny fingers around Jinwoo's thumb. And he felt his heart expand in ways he didn't know were possible. When the boys came to visit later that day, they were awestruck. They took turns holding their sister carefully, reverently. Ethan promised to teach her how to be brave. Elijah promised to teach her how to build things. Evan promised to draw pictures for her room. Jinwoo watched his family, his wife, his 4 children, and felt overwhelming gratitude. This was his empire, not built on fear or control, but on love, on showing up, on choosing every single day to be present. 2 years later, the house by the coast had grown again. They'd added another bedroom for Maya, expanded the garden, built a bigger treehouse that all 4 kids could use. Maya was 2 now, walking, talking in full sentences, keeping up with her brothers despite being so much younger. She had Naomi's spirit and Jinwoo's determination. She was fearless. One evening, Jinwoo sat on the porch as the sun set. The boys were in the yard playing an elaborate game involving superheroes and spaceships. Maya toddled around them, trying to keep up, laughing whenever they included her. Naomi sat beside him, her head on his shoulder. "Can you believe this is our life?" she asked. Jinwoo shook his head. "Some days, no. It feels like a dream." "A good dream?" "The best dream." They watched their children play as the sky turned orange and pink. "Do you ever miss it?" Naomi asked quietly. "The power? The control?" Jinwoo was silent for a moment. "No," he said finally. "I don't miss it, because I finally understand what real power is." "What's that?" He gestured to their children. "This. being trusted with their hearts, being the person they run to when they're scared, being the one they want at their bedtime. That's power, and it's the only kind that matters. Naomi kissed his cheek. You've come so far. We've come so far, he corrected. She smiled. Yeah, we have. Ethan ran up to the porch. Dad, come play with us. What are we playing? We're building a rocket to Mars. Elijah is the engineer. I'm the captain. Evan is designing the ship. And Maya is the alien we're going to meet. Jinwoo laughed. Sounds important. I'm in. He stood, and Naomi joined him. They walked toward their children, toward the messy, chaotic